So today I just wanted to take a quick look at the 2006 film, The Pet. This is positioned as somewhat of a BDSM type film. You do have quite a bit of referencing to puppy play, but somewhere in there they intermix human trafficking, which kind of just in a sense muddles the story. The whole premise of this film is you have a young woman named Mary. She's, I guess you could say, very, very docile, very demure. And at the beginning of the film, she has this horrible boyfriend who basically murdered her cat by punching it in the chest, which is very messed up to begin with. But she runs across this wealthy man, and he helps her out a bit. He helps with covering the cost of the burial of her pet, and he later proposes the idea of her playing somewhat of a puppy girl for him, because he is also mourning the loss of a retriever, Tara, which apparently meant a lot to him. And we have this young woman, Mary, who is in financial strain, and she really doesn't have much going for her, not to say that in a rude way, but she definitely has had a patch of bad luck. So in a sense, he's basically somewhat of a savior for her, but it's very early on in the film that we discover that she was chosen. Someone pointed her out to him. He befriended the girl, but his intentions are not malicious. Like I said, he basically wants a human pet to replace an animal pet that he had. So they do begin their experimentation over the course of 2 days. Obviously, she has to strip nude and walk on all fours. She's not allowed to speak. He does have her wear a shock collar to discourage speaking, but also when she's sleeping, he just kind of gives her a little jolt just to wake her up. But that in itself is not malicious either. Apparently this is the way he handles his pets, or his property, as he says. But this isn't necessarily puppy play in the sense that someone is playing a role of pet and master and there's this in exchange. It's more in the sense that she has agreed to stay with him for 6 months, so she takes on this role of the dog, or the human pet. He renames her Gigi, which is short for good girl, so that is her pet name. But she remains in this pet role for so long that in the film it's discussed as her cognitive skills have reduced. So she's technically no longer an actual human. She's played the role of a human pet for so long, she actually is a pet. So she's very much in that role. Obviously she's still human. She does sleep in a cage, things like that, but essentially she is a human pet. So there really is no eroticism here. There really is no BDSM element. It's not a sexy film at all. You have nude women playing these pet roles. Basically, as I've said, they've been reduced to becoming actual pets. So they're basically just people pets. But it's, like I said, there's no sexuality here. It's very innocent. The director himself has described the nudity as a show of innocence. They are bared, they are displayed, but animals themselves, unless you put a sweater or some kind of a clothing on your pet, they essentially are nude, save for their fur. But that is where that comes into place. So you have this man who befriends this woman. He, like I said, turns her into his human pet. She obviously agrees. She is not mistreated. She is not sexually abused. As I said, there's no sexuality here whatsoever. But you also have this underground trade of people selling human pets for organs, where that's where the human trafficking element comes in. So you have people abducting persons, turning them into human pets, and then harvesting their their organs, which sounds very far-fetched to me, but I mean, I don't know anyone that would go through that much trouble just to harvest organs. Whatever happened to just waking up in a bathtub full of ice? I mean, whatever happened to those days? But so that's a thing that they do. Some of these pet collectors, they brand and tag their human pets, essentially kind of like a breeder's mark, even though, you know, that person already existed without their assistance. But you have this whole essence of the human pet, and this is where I think it potentially offensive to someone who actually is on the scene, someone who actually does live the BDSM lifestyle, whether or not you engage in puppy play, kitten play, pony play, whatever. I doubt someone would like having a portion of their lifestyle depicted in this manner and then having human trafficking or organ harvesting mixed in, because I honestly would assume that's very offensive, and I'm sure a lot of people were offended by this. Of course, the director, I don't know, for some reason he just kind of mixed these two elements, so it's kind of a confused film, because the film poster, which is actually just a stock photo, you can actually see the same image on books. You can also see an alternate version of the same image on a different film cover, so it's definitely an image that has been recycled around. And you have this woman who is kneeling submissively. She has all of this very intricate knot work, but they're implying it's a BDSM or a lifestyle film, and it's really not. Like I said, it's not sexy at all. There is no sexuality whatsoever. It's basically just played off as very innocent, very mundane. Everybody within this underground culture, it's very normal to them to have nude women as human pets, but no one looks at them inappropriately, and they are not treated inappropriately. They are basically just pets, and that is it. So to me, that's kind of, like I said, it seems like it's muddled in with this other element. On the cover of the film or in certain promotional photos, you will even see something to the degree of based on actual events or based on a true story, and that's just bull, because this actual story that is depicted in the film obviously never happened. What they mean by based on actual events is people actually live this lifestyle, or things like this potentially can happen to persons, but that's pretty much all they're really saying. It's just very broad-ended. So I honestly watched this film kind of hoping to get a glimpse of, you know, a different type of lifestyle, because you don't really see too many fetish films. You do have quite a bit of erotic films, or, you know, something that would be described as female soft porn, but there really is no actual fetish film unless you dig really deep in there and look for the overly sexualized stuff. And I'm not passing judgment. Obviously, this is something that I was interested in wanting to watch, but the film in itself, even though it explores an alternative lifestyle, the film is very vanilla. Unfortunately, it does not live up to the expectations that the poster or any of the promotional material sets. Like I've said repeatedly, it's very muddled. The film is basically a mess. The acting is very wooden. Very, very stiff acting. Obviously, the people memorize their lines, the people who do speak lines, but it's just a very... The story or the movie is basically just a mess. Obviously, there are some people out there who do like this movie. Why, I do not know. I tried to give this film a chance. I watched it. I didn't care for it. I thought it was crud. I gave it about a year. I rewatched it. Nope, this one is going in the discard pile. But I did try to give the film an opportunity, but it's just not very well presented. It's not a very strong story. I mean, if you're in it just to watch nude women, go for it, but like I said, you're really not you're not really going to get much out of it. Even if you're just watching this just to have a stroke fest, you're better off watching something else, quite honestly. The women in the film are very lovely. Obviously, I can't show you images of them as the puppy girls, but, you know, the film did have potential to have become something better, but it's just very bland. It's crud, unfortunately. But the film is what it is. The idea or the premise did seem intriguing. Obviously, there are better films out there. For example, The Secretary, which I will be taking a look at later. So, I don't know. I really can't recommend this film. It's not a good story. The acting is kind of so-so. You know, obviously, if you're a fan of women with petite chests, you may enjoy the film. I don't know. But I just really don't have anything too kind or constructive to say about this film. So that is all I have for this film, and I will talk to you guys later.